So we are talking The Elf. This one not starring Will Ferrell. This is actually a 2017 movie directed and written by one Justin Price. I've actually reviewed a few of his films recently. This man seems to be particularly prolific. So this one stars Natassia Halabi and is the festive love child of Annabelle and Chucky, you might say. The story here focuses on a young couple as they go into this kind of weird toy shop, and they're confronted with this strange box which contains this elf-looking puppet. But of course, this puppet has some supernatural prophecies, and it's actually tied to this kind of dark curse that will basically put a shadow over this couple and anyone that they hold dear. So it turns into a killer doll movie as the family of the female are kind of holed up in this kind of like house for Christmas, and we have a killer elf doll on the rampage. So what do we think of The Elf? Let's talk a little bit about Justin Price, because I want to bring up some critiques that I had maybe with a couple of other films that I've reviewed of his recently. And although I thought Justin Price's films have had quite a good visual style, for me the main issue was the story and the narrative elements here. And now, does this one suffer from the same thing? Yes, but not to such a degree. We start off with the negatives first of all. Like I said, this story is more of a basic story. It's a killer doll film. And kind of when we get into the thick of it, it's fairly easy to follow and doesn't really trip up on kind of like plot threads like some of the other movies. However, the initial setup of these two people in this toy shop just didn't make sense and stuff like that. Why are they in there? What sort of shop is it? What's the purpose of them being in there? And who are they and things? It just wasn't set up quite enough. But once you kind of get past that bit, it tends to be, a lot better in regards to the kind of the story element, and seems to make a lot more sense. So that was the kind of the main thing. Secondly, obviously this is a low budget film, so don't be expecting the kind of productions that you've seen in kind of the Chucky films and the kind of the Annabelle films. This is a very low budget movie, so it does seep through on the kind of the production side of it. So its production costs, you can kind of tell, are of the low budget scale. The acting here it's a mixed bag, I'll be honest. I thought the younger cast do an okay job, but some of the older actors here who play the kind of the parents and that, there's some quite awkward acting, shall we say. I don't want to kind of be too mean, but just some of the kind of the line delivery here, certainly for the older actors, kind of like 50 plus, shall we say. A lot of them I found were quite hard to watch in certain scenes, but the younger cast I feel were a lot stronger and seemed to be pretty good here. Maybe with the exception of the druggy friend, who seems to be massively overacting, but she's only in a couple of scenes. So the acting is a bit of a mixed bag. In regards to special effects, I actually have to say this movie uses both practical and CGI effects, and although the CGI on the doll is on the cheaper side, I actually think you can kind of get away with it in this film because they're animating, a wooden doll. It doesn't really have to look like it's made of flesh, and therefore I feel you can kind of get away with it, some of its kind of like artificial feel. So in actual fact, I actually think the effects of this movie actually work quite well in its favour. There are some actually pretty decent scenes where we actually do see the elf kind of literally standing and walking around, and I've got to say I kind of liked him. In fact, going on to the positives for me, all of the bits with the killer doll in them are definitely the best bits here. The killer doll itself isn't overly creepy. Okay, so they've made him look like a proper Christmas thing that you would see in like the kind of the German Christmas markets that you get and stuff like that. Unlike, say, the Annabelle doll, the Annabelle films, which is clearly made to be like a freaky looking doll, this thing, maybe except from the fact that it's got a massive knife in its hand, but it kind of looks like a typical kind of Christmas doll. But I actually think it does work in its favour because it almost takes the mundane and makes it fantastic, which I think was quite good here. And he's kind of quite a fun little character. He's constantly kind of muttering to himself in this kind of like weird language. And I actually thought it was quite fun, to be honest. So I kind of quite like that. There's actually quite a high body count in here. It's not just a doll. There's all sorts of Christmas killers here, including, killer Christmas lights and the such. So lots of fairly high body counts here. It's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of fun at the same time, I will say. It definitely has quite a good pace. There's kind of, once we kind of get into the kind of the killer, the killer things, it picks up pace and is never really kind of lets up again. So the kind of the pace of the film always kind of keeps going. I think the central female protagonist here is quite an interesting character, although she seems to have this magic green shirt that kind of on one scene is kind of, over her shoulders, and the next scene it's kind of, fully clothed and all that scene. So that's her magic power to fight the elf, you see. Anyway, she's quite a good lead, I thought, and they kind of do something with her at the end, which I didn't see coming, I'll admit. So it's a bit of a twist. That was kind of quite fun. Maybe it doesn't make loads of sense considering the whole thing, but, we won't go too much into that. So I think if you're not too picky and you like the kind of the cheaper kind of the B-movie kind of killer doll films, excuse me, there's actually quite a lot to enjoy here. If you don't mind turning your brain off and you will kind of have some festive fun, you'll enjoy this one. So there you go. I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10, actually. It's kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed it, and definitely a bit of a killer Christmas flick. Anyway, 6 out of 10 of you seen it. Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.